Hello. Welcome to Press Start TV. In this episode, we're going to be talking about all kinds of great stuff, as usual, from the video game industry. I think we're going to get into some Gamescom information that was announced.
Still on Gamescom information.
Still the Gamescom. There's so much gone over, some Evolve stuff, some, more Destiny information, some share play, all of this kind of stuff. And we're also doing our Best Of series again with our Best Of controllers. So let's get into it. Let's kick things off with intros. With us today, of course, is Nine.
Hello.
We've got Nate.
What's going on?
And Sam.
Hey.
My name's Will. Gamescom. Sony came out with all kinds of information. I think the biggest thing that they came out with was just more or less just an update of, hey, we sold 10 million units, by the way.
Way to rub it in. No, but in all seriousness,
That's a big,
awesome.
stinking number.
In less than a year.
Wow. That's a big number.
We talked about this on a previous episode. What do you think? Can we attribute this to Microsoft making the mistake with the trading, no game, all that kind of stuff they made?
At this point, Microsoft is closing the gap. I will say that. But the initial sales were definitely driven by that mistake. I think
they're definitely
the price point.
They're fine
I think
now.
the price point.
Microsoft has definitely turned that system around.
They pretty much cleaned their slate at this point.
Phil Spencer was the best decision they made since last year.
Phil's great. Phil is fantastic.
Phil is definitely video games.
But we'll have to remember when the 360 came out, it had a year head start.
Yeah, 360 had a massive lead.
And before that, it wasn't even a contest. The PS2 just destroyed everything.
PS2 destroyed everything.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, since they came out at relatively the same time, Sony's it's a great console, and they're both great consoles. Yep. But I think that they didn't have that information up front. That attributed to a lot of those sales, and it looks like more and more people are getting on the bandwagon because some of their friends had bought the PS4 up front. So it's like, well, I'll get one too.
And the same thing happened with the last generation.
Right.
My friend bought this system, so I'm buying this system so I can play with my friends.
Sure. What else did they announce at Gamescom?
Funny story about that though. A few years ago, when the 360 and the PS3 were going head to head, button heads like they are now with the PS4 and the Xbox One, Microsoft kind of under the radar said that the first console to reach 10 million sales wins the console war.
Oh wow!
So somebody on Reddit brought that back up into the light when Sony announced that they hit the 10 million mark, and it's a little funny because that was 10 plus almost 10 years ago now, and it's coming around to bite them in the butt now. Yeah. But I just thought that was funny. This console war is far from over.
I wouldn't call it a war. I mean, I think they both have great exclusives. I mean. They both do different things. Maybe it is a war. I don't know, but
it's a battlefield.
We'll see it. It's
a battlefield.
All right. So, what else did Sony announce at Gamescom?
A lot.
They had too much stuff, right?
Yeah, they had so much stuff that they went to Twitter and Facebook and said, you know what? We got all these indie games here. We still have way too much to show you. Keep tuned for Tokyo Game Show in a couple months.
They didn't even have. Well, is that a? That's not such a bad thing, I don't think. I don't know.
It's never bad to have too many games.
But when you can't even fit them at the con, then you're kind of pushing it.
I don't agree with that too.
Well, how is anyone supposed to remember if you announce like 200 games? Like
they needed more bigger titles for Gamescom, and I think what they did is they went with the indies because there was a lot of indie games announced for Gamescom from Sony in the PS4. The Tokyo Game Show, I think, will be more of the first-party and exclusive titles that they've got running.
But I think that's really good on Sony's part because they are supporting your indie
especially
developers.
being in Japan.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Bigger games in Japan will mean a bigger uprising for Sony at Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's a smart move, but it's also like you said, it could be a little hindersome.
And there are a lot of good addicting indie games that are out there. I mean, if you get a good one, you get into it, it kind of sucks you in, and there you go. Next thing you're playing it. Bacon Bang is going to be great, by the way. It just has
a game. That was awesome.
All right, some other news that came up. One of the games that a game that we're really excited about that's coming out soon.
Well, not so soon anymore.
It got delayed.
But that's probably a good thing.
Is Evolve. For those of you who don't know, Evolve is a game from 2K that basically has a giant, massive monster and 4 people trying to take down this giant, massive monster. It's a great,
lot harder than you would expect it
it's
to
a
be.
really cool multiplayer experience. One person's the monster.
It's a
4
unique
people.
multiplayer experience.
And
There's
I think
nothing
they can
anything like
expand
it.
on it. But the beta is not coming out till
The beta has been announced to come out and start in January,
January.
and the game is rumored to be out sometime first quarter.
So we gotta wait 6 months just to play the beta.
So
Ouch. I'm fucking. I want
That's
to play it.
ridiculous.
Like,
That's a
I
long
wanna play
time
it
to wait
again.
just for a beta.
But maybe they want to make sure they course the game and gets
Okay,
it right.
if
but-
the beta is, is almost ready to go, like finished game, I'm okay with that. Because the first quarter, that's
you'll know exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's true.
I mean,
Plus, betas that typically are that close to the end cycle of the development
Right.
are more for fine-tuning and balancing the game
Sure.
itself so that it's fair when it launches day one.
Absolutely.
So it's perfectly smart that they do this, and more companies that do multiplayer should do this, especially Call of Duty, because their game is always unbalanced when it comes out.
Yeah.
And you'll always find
And
tweaks.
Battlefield.
Call of Duty,
Battlefield's-
Battlefield. Destiny, I think, did a good job with. What was that?
He said Battlefield.
Battlefield
They do a
4.
beta, and they
Oh.
still screwed it up. So
Evolve definitely looks amazing. Super stoked about that title. Can't wait to
Looks like
find
so
out more
much
about
fun.
it. Yeah, really good stuff. Okay, we'll have more for you here in a sec. Hey, what's happening? Welcome back. By the way, we love to hear from you. If you're watching our show and you'd like to get more involved, leave us your comments. Let us know what you think. We love to hear from our viewers. And I think we've got a couple of people that have gotten back to us to kind of voice their opinion.
yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Nintendo Fan 1019 for adding to our discussion about the Hyrule Warriors characters. They had a lot of good information, and we appreciate it. That's the kind of interaction we want.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Nintendo Fan 1019, thank you for that. And let's get into our best controller ever argument / discussion, however you want to call it. Let's just get right into it.
Start with her, because I know what hers is.
you always start with me. Start with yourself.
Now, before we start,
Hers isn't a controller.
Okay.
all right, so before we get into this, let's keep in mind that there are, 30 plus years of gaming all
There's a
together.
lot of controllers
There's a
out there.
lot of ways to game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes we should count the no controller as a controller as well. Don't forget that. So there are tons of consoles, tons of
And this is all
great
personal
controllers out
opinion.
there.
This
could
is
be an
not a
arcade
collaborative,
stick,
scaled, measured nonsense.
just what we think.
It's just what we feel.
So there's been a lot of mistakes over the years as well. Let's not forget
The
that.
boomerang, the PS3 boomerang.
The original Xbox controller was like
Oh my God, the Duke. The Duke.
Oh yeah. Can't push buttons.
All right, I'll kick it off then. I'll start.
all right, sure. What do you got?
Mine is an evolution of a generation of a controller, and it finally came to perfection with the DualShock 4. I've loved the PlayStation without the analog sticks, the DualShock when it launched, the DualShock 2, the DualShock 3, everything that PlayStation has had under its belt has been, for me, the perfect controller. I like my thumbsticks to be side by side, that way my hand is in the same position, and for me it's easier to process thought.
Yeah.
Up, down, left, right,
Yeah.
yada yada yada.
I mean-
And PlayStation made a huge improvement with the DualShock 4.
Oh, it's
It is
amazing.
by far the smoothest controller I've ever used.
Yeah, I mean, but people that got the original Xbox obviously had to deal with that. But the 360 controller came out. Some people would argue,
360
they got used to that. Is it just because you were used to PlayStation's design?
I like the 360 controller.
Yeah.
I have a 360. I like it, but for me, it's still it's a little awkward.
What about the
The
original
D-pad
Nintendo
really
controller?
isn't that good on it.
The Nintendo controller was great.
AB just
That's my
select
Two
type
buttons.
of controller.
Yeah.
2 buttons. I mean, that's by far as simple as you can get.
the Wiimote,
Not a good controller.
Actually, you can get simpler. Connect.
the
No
Atari
controller.
controller.
Well, that's true.
One
Actually, that could be more complex if you want to get into it.
Good point. But yeah, as you were saying, the Atari 2600.
Yeah, what about that?
One
Just
button.
One
controller
button and a
that's-
One
joystick.
joystick.
Yeah, I mean,
was
come
it.
on. So, but I just want to be sure you're not saying this is my number one pick only because you're used to it. I mean,
No,
certainly,
I genuinely
it's your
love
opinion.
this controller. It's a fantastic controller. It's got buttons that work and
Functional.
function.
Yeah.
The design is so good. They've used it throughout every single system. You know,
Right.
every console changes
They
up the
tried to change it
controller,
with the
but-
PS3 with that
The
goofy,
boomerang
weird
thing,
boomerang
yeah.
thing, and man, the fan backlash was ridiculous.
So best controller of all time for you is
The DualShock 4,
DualShock 4. Okay.
hands down.
All right, Sam, weigh in on this. What do you got?
Not a controller.
I'm gonna have to go with the PC keyboard and mouse. It is a controller. It controls
It's
the
a
game.
keyboard and a mouse.
Just because it solves more, you know.
So
does
we're
more
going with the
stuff.
definition that a controller is anything that pushes buttons to make things move.
Okay, no controller would be it functions the game. So
So I'm sure a lot of PC fans out there are going, yeah.
Oh, they're gonna scream at me like there's no tomorrow.
Oh yeah, for PC
I'm gonna get it.
elitists.
Bring it
you
on!
have so many options, and you know, I can't.
What I do like about the keyboard is you can configure your controller to however you're. Like if you have a big hand, you can spread out the whatever you want to
Yeah,
use.
you
Yeah.
can spread it out. You can have it close together. You can have, instead of having to press 7 buttons to do one thing, you press 1 button.
Yeah.
Which is true.
You know,
Absolutely.
Which also gives you an unfair advantage
And there are a lot of
because we take skill to
gaming
use our controllers.
gaming mice out there on the
There are.
markets that are specifically made
Oh
for
yeah,
gaming.
and
Yes.
gaming keyboards.
And some of
there
these
are
things are
gaming
like
keyboards.
really cool looking rigs, man. I mean,
and
oh,
then
yeah.
there's the
the
gamepad.
the game pads. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use those.
I am just giving her a hard time. I do like the mouse
Thank
and keyboard.
you for clarifying.
I do like the mouse and keyboard for certain aspects. It's way better for first-person shooters.
if I could play
For first-person shooters, it is a
PlayStation
far superior
with
controller.
a keyboard and mouse, I would play it all the time.
But I am
You
a
know,
console gamer.
technically
so-
speaking, there was the Dreamcast keyboard.
Yes, and I used it for PSO.
So, there you go.
Who didn't?
All right, so best controller of
It's
all
keyboard
time.
and mouse.
Keyboard and mouse.
Okay, Nate.
Not a controller.
What are you thinking on this? You have the entire genre of all these controllers made over the course of
Don't
gaming
forget,
history.
handhelds can qualify
Sure.
for this as well.
That is true. See, the problem with handhelds though is that they kind of cramp up your hands after a while. But that's
They've
not my
gotten
favorite.
better over the years.
They have a little bit.
Far better.
But my favorite is absolutely the GameCube controller.
It's a solid controller.
I mean, it's so
Yeah,
good
that's a good
that,
one. That's really
that
good.
Nintendo has noticed that the fans like it so much that we're getting a USB connection to the Wii U
For
so we can
Smash
play
Bros.
Smash Bros. With GameCube controllers. That's how good the controller
and
is.
I'd like to point out that it was the first controller to come in a variety of colors at launch.
And it was the first one to
didn't know
have
that.
2 shoulder buttons.
Because the console came in 2 different colors, black and purple, at launch.
Yeah.
You could pre-order either one. It was the first one to launch with multiple colors.
Well, you had the white
Not at launch.
Wii U and the black Wii U.
Yeah, but that's after the GameCube.
No, those didn't come out at launch right away.
Oh, that's right.
I'm talking about at launch. It was the first controller to have color options.
Right.
It was the first system in general to have color options
And it just-
at the launch of the console.
The thing with the GameCube, it just feels really good. It looks really funky.
I miss
But
the GameCube.
it's just, when you hold
Super
it in your
responsive.
hands, you know exactly what to push. Even casuals, you got the big
He
green A
says even
button,
casuals.
red blue, red B button. Well, a lot of people play games casually.
yeah, no.
The casual.
No,
There's
I
nothing
will
wrong
agree with that.
playing games
It's
casual.
got this giant green button in the middle for your main, like, do
main
everything.
button.
And then you got the 2 little X and Y.
Right, so like if
Little red
you
button.
don't play games and you're looking at like a PlayStation controller, not dissing DualShocks, but if you don't play games, you're not going to know which one to push. But with a GameCube, you know, well, it's probably going to be this
giant
big
button right here.
and it
Don't
just
press the button.
it just
Must press
feels
the
really
button.
natural. So
One thing I really liked about what GameCube did is the trigger buttons, the shoulder
Yes.
buttons. They clicked.
Yeah, they're
and
very, and
they,
they're
they
form-fitted.
feel
oh my God, they were
awesome.
so awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome.
They weren't form fitted just at the bottom. It was like the
The whole thing was
Yeah.
like a nice, smooth, like, boop.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So you're going with
GameCube,
the
absolutely.
GameCube controller. I'll just make it easy. Mine's the Duke.
You
No
like
doubt.
the Duke? There's no way you like the
So-
Duke. Nobody
so-
likes the Duke.
So
Not
let's
even
talk
the
about
Duke
this,
likes
though.
the Duke.
I mean, the regular Nintendo controller, which created a great saying called Nintendo thumbs. When you
Yeah.
had the bad controller, because you were using it so much and all this kind of stuff. The Dreamcast controller was a little odd, but it did have the VMU thing, which was kind of cool. It was kind of
Yeah.
ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
But it only had one analog stick. And at that generation, It was 2 analog sticks.
The
was
Genesis
standard.
controller wasn't bad, and they had the 3 buttons. I mean, some good stuff there.
What would be your favorite, though?
You know, the Atari, I'm just trying to, I mean, if I had to narrow it down, I am, you know, and I'll say this. I think the Wiimote is more of a console thing. The Wii as a general was great. The controller was a cool feature, but I wouldn't say it was, you know, for me it's about having the controller like
It's
this
that,
and playing
you know,
not all the motion stuff. And again, the Kinect and you know, the eyes and all that kind of stuff where you don't even have to have a controller is also interesting. I mean, I guess you consider no controller a controller.
You can now.
gotta have buttons.
You know, I think that in some of these current generation consoles, and the Wii U gamepad, by the way, is interesting. I'm curious to see what else they do with that. But it's I don't know. I can't put that one up there because it's so big. I would say that, in my opinion, the 360 controller was a better controller than the DualShock 3. I thought the DualShock 3 was just, you don't have to agree with me, it was just my opinion. I thought it was a better fit. And then when Xbox One and PS4 came out, the Xbox One's controller was miles above the 360 controller.
Oh yeah.
But for me, I think the DualShock 4 is the best controller on the market and ever made.
I will say this: I like the Xbox One controller a lot. It feels a lot better to me than the 360 controller.
It's light years above it.
The joysticks on the Xbox One controller are far superior than the DualShock 4 controllers.
I think that
in a flash. They're so much better that people are actually modding their DualShock 4s to use the Xbox One controllers.
I thought they were pretty close. I didn't see it that much of a difference, but I think that the Xbox One controller is much better than the 360 controller, which was the better controller. But the DualShock 4's got, it's so...
massive improvement.
So many things. It's got so many options. It feels great. It looks great. It's just, I love everything about it. You know, I think they really hit it on the head.
Actual triggers
that might be a big reason too, due to the sales, like we were talking about earlier. You know, maybe the controllers. Hey, they finally made a great controller that 360 or Microsoft fans were going. Finally, a decent DualShock, right?
It's bigger. It's light. It's wider. The whole thing is just, the overall package is way better.
All right, so we will. That wraps that up. We've got the DualShock 4, the DualShock 4, the GameCube controller, and the PC and mouse. That's that. We'll have more for you here in a sec. All right, welcome back. We just got done talking about our best controllers of all time. Let's talk about some new news with Destiny. Already one of the biggest titles of the year. I think 2014 will be the year that is remembered for when Destiny comes out.
Nobody's going to forget it, that's for sure.
Last year was the year of Luigi. This year is the year of Destiny.
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing game. But already we've got an announcement of DLC for this game. Now, Activision claims that this is a 10-year game.
And and they're gonna have to keep up
That's
with the
high
DLCs.
expectations.
I mean, in order for it to be a game that you continually play for the next 10 years, they're going to have new content.
But how
especially
often,
with them launching on PS3 and Xbox 360, those consoles are going to be pushing 20 years old by the time the Destiny life cycle is over.
Well, do you think?
That?
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's
you know, that's a lot of hard drive space for one game on a console that's already 8-9 years old.
Right.
But do you think they'll release, like, say, after 5 to 6 years? Do you think they'll still release DLC on those older generation consoles?
Oh, absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Would that
They're
really
not
make
going
sense,
to
though, even
stop
being
one
so
thing
old?
unless Microsoft and Sony cut the servers. They'll keep pushing out content for it.
They might do that, though.
I don't think they
It's
will.
kind of like the PS2 thing. You still want to support the fan base that has those consoles. People invest in money in those. Not everybody has the money to go out and buy a new console, and you still want to give them something.
Yeah.
A lot of people wait for the next generation to buy the previous generation.
You know, we were talking about Nintendo and the Wii U, and Nintendo's come out and said, of course we are working on the next console, but we're not going to release it until we feel that Nintendo Wii U fans are satisfied with their purchase.
Right.
They're not going to abandon it. Same
because
thing
that
with
would just be a
PS3
giant slap in the
360.
face.
Why
Say,
else
hey, you
would
bought
you-
this, but we're going to go ahead and do this.
Why would you sell the product if the customer doesn't feel like it was worth it?
Right.
Yep. So Destiny, I think, I am on the Destiny bandwagon. I'm getting the Ghost Edition. I can't wait for this game. I just don't see myself playing it for 8 years.
Yeah.
You
I
might
said
be
that about WoW.
surprised.
Yeah,
You'd
okay.
be
Fair enough.
surprised.
Okay.
Touche.
Okay.
And
No.
the other kicker is there's no subscription model for this.
Right.
True.
So if
Yeah.
you forget and don't renew it. You're not out any money.
All
You
right.
pay the $60 and that's it.
More Destiny info. So, in other news, we've got the share play option come out. This was announced in Ubisoft's conference at E3 for Far Cry 4, but apparently there's some more news
Well,
about
it was
this.
just announced at Ubisoft for Far Cry 4. They're just like, hey, you'll be able to play this on one console or on two consoles with one disc over the internet, which is great. But it didn't have a name. Now it has a name. SharePlay.
SharePlay.
It's available to the PlayStation Plus subscribers, obviously, because you need to be online to
Right.
be able to use it. And it grants you an hour of either co-op play or controlling your friend's game or helping your friend through something unlimited number of times.
That's awesome.
That's crazy
pretty cool.
An hour might not sound like a long time, but it's basically like handing if you can't beat a certain section of the level,
Right.
you can just basically you're essentially handing the controller to your friend virtually. Like, hey, can you beat this
Right.
section for me?
It's pretty
They
much
can
like
do it.
remote desktop assistance for PCs, but for video games.
But for video games,
So
this is awesome.
Really
There's two
cool.
things that I like about that. I love that feature because sometimes if you're trying to platinum a game, it's a little bit like cheating, but people cheat anyway. They're going to go online, look up, watch the videos, watch somebody else do it, and then try. So what? So they're giving us another ability to interact with
Right.
your friends. I love that idea. I also like that kind of innovation. I think that it's almost like a try before you buy. For
Pretty
some
much.
people, Yeah.
Yeah.
If Nye buys a game and I'm like, man, I'm really on the fence with it, and I don't want to go over his house. I'm sorry, I just
Yeah.
don't want to do it.
I don't blame you. My house is a
know.
mess. It's all good.
I can be like, hey, let me play that, and you're like, okay, and share it onto my PS4.
Right.
I think that's awesome.
If you love it, then
If
you
I
go
love
out
it,
and
then
buy
go
the
out
game.
and buy it.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that
And
is
I like the
really
fact
cool.
that, if I'm online playing one game and my friend jumps on and he wants to beat this game real quick and he needs help, I don't have to go out and buy the game.
Right.
I can just stop playing mine,
Jump on
start playing his, and then when he's gone, I can go back to playing mine again.
there.
It's a fantastic idea. This is a smart move on.
I
on
hope,
Sony's
honestly, I hope Microsoft and Nintendo follow suit with something like this because this is
If
really
it works
smart.
as well as it
As it says.
hopes,
I think it's a
Yeah.
good friend feature, just way to tie people together. Again,
this
I love
is
that
going
kind
to
of
be a
innovation. So
huge feature.
Yes.
share play. We'll see how it plays out. By the way, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll see all of our Let's Plays and all that. We do have a new one coming out that we're super excited about.
I don't know if we're excited about this one.
I'm not excited about this one.
I've already been scared to death by this game. And these guys haven't even played it yet, let alone
Can't wait.
seen it.
Can't wait.
So we're going to do PT. It was released about last week. No, 2 weeks ago during Gamescom, and it's a really, really scary game.
Who's involved with this game?
Hideo Kojima, the
Yeah.
original creator of Silent Hill, and Guillermo del Toro. So that is two messed up heads working on one scary, freaky game.
Oh boy.
It's going to be nuts.
I'm not gonna sleep for weeks.
Dude, I'll tell you this. I actually tweeted Hideo Kojima the night after I played it saying all of my lights are on and all of my doors are now open permanently because of
Because
PT.
of
Holy crap.
It is that scary, dude.
So check out our Let's Plays. By the way, if you want us to try a game that you want to see us play,
Let us know
or
what you want to see.
Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what topics you want to talk about. We'd love to hear from you. Again, you can check us out on youtube.com/PSVGTV or facebook.com at PressStartVG. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining us. That's all the time we have. Until next time.
Peace out.
Adios.